here's someone that wants to pay me to fly helicopters. And it's in Africa. What's the worst that can happen? Welcome to 10 Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Phil Freeman.
And with me, as always, is Shane Patrick. And we're going to talk a little bit about flying helicopters in Africa.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
Shane, you spent some time in Africa, over a year straight. And when someone leaves their home, you always think someone who leaves their home is going into a lot of unknown. It's a different continent, different rules. You're going to see and do things that you've never thought of. It doesn't matter if it's Africa or Asia, it's always something different. And that's what's so fun about travel. What brought you to Africa?
Well, I was in Hawaii on the Big Island trying to learn how to fly helicopters. And I already had my private license. I was working on my commercial endorsement. And I was studying with a guy who's South African. We were at the same level, so we studied together, quiz each other on laws and whatever, and then we'd take breaks and chit-chat about what we did before we started flying helicopters and that sort of thing. His deal was that he was working for a helicopter company in Botswana. He had his private license, and then he worked for that company and got hours flying deadheads when there weren't people around, maintenance flights.
Now, Botswana, where is that located on the African continent?
Botswana is just north of South Africa, landlocked. On one side is Namibia, and on the other side is Zimbabwe.
Namibia stretches all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, correct?
Sure does. Yep, the skeleton coast. Miles and miles and piles of sand. Pretty incredible. Yeah, and Botswana's roughly the size of Texas or France. This South African, he and I had some similar experiences, guiding rafting trips, big backcountry adventures. He got his commercial license and went back to Botswana to now work for that company. And he said, let's keep in touch. And I don't know about you, but I've met a lot of people over the years and they all say, let's keep in touch. And not too many people do. It's just sort of a thing we say.
Come on, let's lay down a percentage. 18?
In my experience, that'd be high, but you're maybe better at it than I am.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah. But this guy, he stayed true to it, and he got back in touch with me and said, hey, we're looking for a pilot. Gave my contact information to his boss, and he and I had a very memorable phone interview. We had two. First one, I don't really remember. It was kind of like, whatever, really similar to everybody's phone interviews. The second one was memorable because near the end of the conversation, he said, well, it's dark now, and I'm pretty sure those are lions, so I need to go inside. But if you can come to Africa for 2 weeks, if you like me, I like you, you have a job.
It was a 2-week interview then, literally.
Yeah, because, really before they want to spend a lot of money on getting work permits and converting your license, I needed a Botswanan pilot's license and all of that sort of stuff. They want to make sure you're going to be able to stick it out for 2 years. Not everyone can do it.
What kind of test was it? It was just a function of getting you around the team and then finding if you worked out.
Yeah, and I think, that's how they've always gotten people is they probably get a good feel for it, this
After
person's going to make it or not.
So they clearly hired you.
They did.
And before you went, what were your premonitions? What did you think it would be like?
I don't really know what I thought it would be like.
Come on, some clear ones, though. Weren't there some images, just that are affiliated with whatever?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have the elephants and the rhinos and the birds flying in front of the acacia trees and all that stuff. And also, to be honest, I had the starving child with the bugs flying around their face. I had those images too. HIV, AIDS, I had all of that sort of stuff. But I figured, here's someone that wants to pay me to fly helicopters. And it's in Africa. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, I didn't really think about the worst that could happen, but I thought, I should go do this.
There's always worse, but there's no reason why not to.
Yeah, exactly. So I did it,
What was the deal? They were going to have a certain amount of time where you were contracted to fly?
Yep, I agreed to 2 years.
Did you have any vacay or how did it all?
In Botswana, it's pretty progressive actually compared to a lot of Africa. One of the things is full-time employees are entitled to 1 month of paid leave. And so I was given February. That was my month paid to leave.
What?
And that's what they call it there. They don't call it vacation. They call it leave. Go leave. Go
get out of here.
Do something. Go look around.
I love that concept.
Yeah. And it's really, for Africa, I was really surprised. Botswana's pretty progressive. They have free healthcare. It's not the best healthcare, but it's free. Education is compulsory and free all the way through. If you want to go from, you have to start.
Uniforms or no?
They do. They do have uniforms. You have to start school by age 7. You can start it before that if you want. Most of them, I don't think, do that, actually. But yeah, you can go all the way through university, and it's paid for. Their roads are not awesome, but they're not bad. And they actually have an equivalent of Social Security. Once a month, try to think of what it was, like 600 pula. It's about $50. Interesting thing about pula, that's Botswanan word for money. It's also their word for rain. That gives you an idea.
Whoa!
What environment I was dealing with. Kalahari Desert. It's dry, pretty dry.
Yeah, wow.
But once a month, anyone over the age of 60 gets 600 pula. And my company...
over 61?
Anyone over 60
Sorry.
Gets 600 pula. About $60, $50, something like that, depending on the exchange rate. And the company I worked for actually had a contract to deliver pula to 6 villages that are only accessible by helicopter. I mean, you could get there by boat and stuff, but not in a timely manner.
So you're the money man flying in from the future.
Yeah, so I would have a helicopter.
And are they all cell phones with tell me what did you see there?
Cell phones exist in the maybe four cities in the country. In the rest of it, cell phones don't work.
Still wild there.
Yep. Yeah, and for instance, flying at night is illegal in Botswana for 2 reasons. One, they don't want any poaching. So that's one of the ways they can control that is they keep people out of the air at night. The other thing is there is nothing, if it's a full moon, obviously you can see. But when you get up in the air, there are no lights. I mean, there are no lights.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, the star viewing there is ridiculous. There are a couple of galaxies you can see there that I'd never seen before, aside from the Milky Way.
That was Shane Patrick talking about flying helicopters in Africa. If you want to learn more about Shane or listen to more 10-minute travels, please check us out at 10minutetravels.com.
And we want to remind you to make sure that your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.